Morning, Rob.
Good morning.
Well, good evening.
How are you, Joe?
I'm good. Are you all right?
I'm all right. Yeah,
Good.
I'm all
How's
right.
how's winter treating you?
Uh, it's pretty bloody cold. I'm
We're
actually
winning.
at the snow at the moment.
No. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Um,
where are
Someone
you?
else is here. He's making a lot of noise, but
Oh.
I'm at Joey's place. He's just
Ah,
about to head out. Um, he's got a pop-up salon here at the snow, so he's about to
nice.
head out and do a haircut. Do you want to give Joe a quick wave? Come around, Joe.
Hiya. Nice. I'm impressed. Um,
How are
well,
you?
yeah, I'm really good, thank you. Really good. It's the sun's been shining, This is my turn to be the one that's like,
It is,
yeah, I'm going to
which
gloat
is
on this a
good.
little bit. Definitely.
Take it while you can, Joe.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we don't know. One day it could be beautiful sunshine. The next day we could have, winter. That's just
Yeah,
British. So look, I wanted to say thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited about this because we've had the collective going for 3+ years, and we've never had you on. So this is a new one for me. So I'm really pleased that you've agreed to do this. Not that you haven't agreed before, by the way. I'm just
no. Listen, I'm equally as excited. I always love having a chat, especially with you guys, and and also, I know how supportive the collective have been. So, if I
yeah.
can, impart any information on these guys, it's my absolute pleasure. So, yeah, thanks for
Brilliant.
having me on.
Well, I've put some questions together, and some of the guys have sort of asked some questions as well that I've sent over already. But let's jump straight into it. How did it all start?
Sure. How did it all start? Well, it's quite a long story, but I'll give you the short version. How's that? I I've been in distribution for probably the best part of 20 years, and and by that means that we've had a distribution company with my partners. One of the partners is Peter. Another happens to be my brother, who you know both of them, Joe. And I joined the company in 2002, so more than 20 years ago. And we started distributing brands like Revlon, American Crew. And in 2004, I think it was, we launched Kevin Murphy in Australia. So, we had quite a few brands under our belt, and with that came experience as well. And so, this was something that we loved the industry, loved the brands, and in that time had the opportunity to meet and actually work with Joey and Andrew, who, as everyone knows, I'm sure the collective know, are our co-creative directors. um, I actually got to meet them, whether it be through shoots or industry events. Actually, Joey was a client of our distribution company, his salon, or his salons I should say. And so I became quite close with Joey over that time, and we'd talk about business, and we'd talk about the salon and products. And we really, and with Andrew as well, we really had a very similar way of thinking about the industry, a love for the industry as well. So it kind of started from there, and then evolved into so much more. But yeah, distribution for me personally, it started there, and then we started 11 in 2011, as the story goes. And then, yeah, as they say, the rest is history.
So what actually inspired you to start 11 Australia?
So again, chatting with the guys, we started the brand, but before we did that, and I know you hear this a lot, or everyone hears this a lot, we saw a gap in the market. We really did see a gap in the market, and we looked at other brands that were out there, and you know wrongly or rightly, we saw that we could do things differently, and I don't mean better because that'd be a really arrogant and if not naive point of view, particularly then, which was early days. But we certainly, we'd worked with lots of brands, whether that was with Joey or myself in the industry, and certainly Andrew, and then my other business partners. So we yeah, as I said, not to say that we could do things better. We just thought we could do things differently. And with that, we thought there was a real opportunity for us to develop a brand, and as it's known now, and formed our pillars, which was a brand that was really easy to understand. And really, the premise of that came about. Joey and I had lots of conversations, and interestingly enough, Joey was, a client of mine, and I should let everyone know that while I'm the CEO and founder of 11, I actually sunk my teeth into sales before I got into marketing. My background's always been marketing, but when I started with distribution, I really wanted to get out there in the field and really understand the salon business and sales. And so I dealt with a lot of key accounts, and Joey being one of them. And one of the things that we noticed, or the challenges, I should say, that Joey faced and we faced in the industry was that, staff just found it increasingly difficult or complicated when they had to go and sell retail or even talk to their clients about retail. So they found it difficult, and even clients themselves, when they walked into a salon, really found it difficult to understand what a product actually did. And it was interesting, when we started the brand, it was right at the time when brands that came out were, really tricking up the names of their brands, the descriptions, and the things that they were calling products. Um, and without naming brand names, you probably know a few of them yourself, but they would become increasingly hard to really understand what that product was for and who it was for. And so we thought, there might be something in this. How do we make this really easy? And, understanding that stylists have limited time with a client, even though they have a captive audience, that time becomes more and more limited. So how do we make that process, really easy for a stylist to recommend to their client, and also for a client that walks in off the street into a salon, make that really easy as well. And
Yeah.
so with that, we wanted a product range that, was performance based as well, was Australian, and that was really important to us. And when we researched brands, from Australia that launch, even in the UK, certainly in North America, one thing that resonated with people globally was that Australian products, whether they be in beauty or hair care, were trusted. They came with the feeling of quality. And certainly people love the Australian lifestyle. So that was, one thing that we definitely wanted to make sure that we included in the brand. And then, we included Joey's expertise, in the hair industry. And our expertise being myself, my brother, and Peter in manufacturing and business. And then, of course, Andrew, who had the photographic um, acumen. So all those things together, seem to be the perfect formula to create 11 Australia.
Yeah, it certainly does. Easy. So, I mean, you talked about trends within there. How do it's we love, as you said, we absolutely love the Australian lifestyle. We love the imagery. We love how we feel connected with it through everything that you guys do, through that's the right products that are coming through the imagery and everything. But how do you stay ahead of the trends? How is 11 Australia doing that?
I mean, really talking to people like yourself, Joe, who have your ear to the ground, talking to stylists, the collective, but certainly we reach out to organisations like WGSN, Future Lab. These are trend forecasters, so we look to those, um, and then we pull apart their findings and their research and things that we think are relevant to us and our industry, and even things that aren't relevant to our industry are really interesting as well because
Mm.
I guess they're global trends. So we look at macro and micro trends on that scale. But we certainly look at beauty. Now, when I say beauty, we fall into the beauty category being hair, but I mean specifically beauty, and I mean skincare. Um, I feel like they're real trailblazers in innovation. What's happening in skin is usually followed by hair. in terms of ingredients and innovation. And you'll know from the things that we've done, we've included ingredients like hyaluronic acid. You'll see new ingredients come to 11 Australia like ceramides, peptides, the list goes on. But also, genuinely, I feel that beauty take risks, and they have led the way in things like diversity, sustainability, packaging. So yeah, I definitely take cues from beauty, and I think also, Joe, staying, not to say I want to move away from the hair industry, but I think going outside of your own industry allows you to bring something else to the table and helps you stay ahead, I guess, of the trend. So yeah, looking outside, I guess, is what we do.
I mean, those trends, the like WGSN, they're like 5 years plus, aren't they? That they're looking ahead for some of these trends.
They are. And it's interesting, some of them you look at and you go, that will never happen. And sure enough, it actually does. So,
Yeah,
the things that, they were talking about, and even things that, we've reported on to our own industry, to our own distributorships, and you would have seen trend reports that we've done, Joe, things that we've talked about that are going to come to fruition, we're actually living and breathing now. So,
yeah, yeah.
it's certainly good to have, both
Quite.
social listening and trend listening into those things.
It's quite spooky actually when someone tells you something like that and you're sitting there thinking, no, that's not going to happen.
No,
A couple of years
yeah.
later, wearing it, living it, it's
I
quite
mean,
incredible.
you're so right. If you think of AI now, whether or not you're freaked out by it or whether you find it, incredibly advanced, I have a feeling, 6 months from now, the things that we're seeing are going to be part and parcel. Then it'll be the next thing and then the next thing. But yeah,
Mm.
it's crazy.
Yeah, crazy. So speaking about innovation, is there anything that you could share with us or things that we should be looking out for in products?
Well, I think first and foremost, that there is, Joe. It's whether we share that with the rest of the collective. Listen, I'd love to, and yeah, we're excited about a couple of new innovative products, I should say. One being a dry thermal spray. So this is one we're super excited about. Now, you might have heard that, there's a lot of thermal sprays out there in the market. We have one and it's done incredibly well for
Yeah,
us.
really
Our
well.
Smooth Me Now, yeah, our Smooth Me Now thermal spray is actually, we've sold, I think it's 4 months worth of products in 1 month of that product. So,
Took us by
it's
surprise
just
as
hit the ground running.
well. It
Yeah.
really did.
And you guys are doing incredibly well. It's doing really well globally. And I think, it's testament to, Joey making sure that the, the products live up to, their name and their expectation. And performance is obviously a key pillar, as we said. But where that product is, first and foremost, a smoothing product, and it's a dual function product by all means. It's a thermal spray that goes into wet hair, but it's a smoothing spray first and foremost. What we've developed is a dry thermal spray, so that one that can go into dry hair. And believe it or not, they are really, really hard to find.
Mm.
And one that dries instantly or as close to instantly on contact. So, with the feedback that we've had, is that, you know, people who use heat tools don't necessarily want to wet their hair. They don't want to
Yeah,
wash their hair to then be able to go and restyle it.
yeah,
They just want to know that they're going to have that heat protection and go and restyle it. So that's on the cards, and that's due to be released next year. So that's our dry thermal spray. Super excited for that one.
yeah.
We've developed a smoothing balm, which
Yes,
is
very
a great
excited.
product, which we hope to have really soon. Again, this is kind of off the back of TikTok craze, which I don't know if you've seen, but a lot of TikTokers use our pomade by way
Yes,
to kind of smooth away flyaways and keep their hair smooth, and really a product that's on the go. So we took the idea of that and created something that you could take out whenever. It comes in a roll on, if you like, and then you'll be able to apply that super quickly. Really, really great product. Um, curl range, we're going to extend that out again. Really incredible ingredients, ceramides, niacinamides. We're looking to more science-backed formulas and ingredients. And then, of course, clinical trials, Joe, which you know about,
yeah,
which we've invested heavily in. So, clinic Miracle Treatment's our hero product. we just want more and more people to know how good that product is. And so you might have seen across our socials, we've started to drip feed some of our clinical trial results, but I have to say they're incredible. And clinical results for those who do or don't know, it's an independent study that's done by a dermatological lab. It's done over a 6 week period, and they essentially take your product and they report on it over a 6 week period with a cohort of women. And I have to say, yeah, as I said, the results have been incredible across, lots of things from, smoothing, heat protection, split ends, moisture. It's been really incredible. So,
The
yeah,
numbers are amazing.
yeah. So we plan to have more clinical trials across more products. But certainly, with that information that we receive back, that gives us more information to create innovation. Yeah, but that's just a handful of things, but it's certainly going to hit the mark across different hair categories within 11 Australia.
I think with having numbers like that, whether we're a hairdresser that kind of is into numbers or not, I think just having that to back you up of sort of like everybody should be taking Miracle home. It's like putting your moisturizer on before you put your foundation on. It's like that's how important that product is in your hair care regime. And I think just having some of that dotted around, you're kind of like, oh, okay, it is. It is.
100%, 100%. And listen, everyone who uses it loves it, but we just want more people to know how
Yeah.
incredibly easy it is to use, how good your hair feels, but also, know that it can be their hero. It's certainly our hero, and I think we've taken it for granted, Joe. If I'm being really honest and putting my marketing hat on, we've taken it for granted that everyone knows how good it is, but you don't. It's really a drop in the ocean. And we sell an incredible amount of that product globally. Almost to the point that we can't keep up sometimes. But we are certainly going to let more and more people know, and we're extending out that miracle category. You would have seen the miracle shampoo and conditioner. There'll be more products that come with that miracle category just because it is so loved.
So, I mean, talking about the products within the 11 Australia range, what would you say has been your most challenging product that you've launched?
I'd have to say two things, two product lines for two different reasons. And one would definitely be our soap bars. Our soap bars were and are such an incredible product. And we really responded to a global trend in the market. So, for everyone in the collective, if you'd like to know how do we come up with new products and innovation, um, while it may seem like it's just something, we kind of put our finger up in the air and go, oh, that'd be nice to produce. We do really do a lot of research before we go to the market. We have to, because, when we release a product, we are literally doing hundreds of thousands of products globally. So to bring out a product is no small feat. So you'd want to be damn sure that when you're doing a product, you're going to get it pretty right. And if you're not going to get it right, at least have the data to back you for that. And so when we did the soap bars, again, we responded to I won't say trend, I'd say data, that said to us, you know, globally, people want a product that is zero waste, and that we achieved that with the soap bars.
Mhm.
They wanted something that was, gentle on the scalp. They wanted something that was really easy to use. So tick, 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 all those things. It really is an incredible product. And, the zero waste thing was, high on the agenda for that product. To have something that you could literally use and you'd be finished. And aside from that, I can't remember what the data is, but you used X amount of applications or usage of that soap bar than you would of a normal, 300 ml shampoo. So not only would it be zero waste, it would actually go the distance and then some. So all these incredible qualities with that. But yeah, it definitely had its challenges, and then following suit from us, I know a lot of brands started to bring out soap bars. They were seeing that trend as well, but it certainly wasn't the trend or the hype that we'd thought. So it was a challenge. I I don't think it's dead and buried, or certainly dead and gone. And I think you'll see iterations of that kind of idea. In fact, I've already seen powders in the market. It's just whether people have an ideal in mind, whether they're willing to part with their money based on that ideal, right? And so while we all have this wish to be, more sustainable and more eco-friendly, it's when it came to the crunch, people weren't really that willing to part with their dollars, to live up to that ideal, I guess. So that certainly was a challenge for us.
Do you think it just wasn't, maybe it was a bit too soon? Maybe we weren't ready for that changeover from, the squeezing it out of the shampoo. It's a habit, isn't it? And that's what we've always done. I think
Yeah,
it was a different way of doing it. The results were exactly the same.
yeah.
It was difficult.
Listen, I think we might have been too early, but also, I do think that when people are faced with the options that they've requested, and like I said, it comes to parting with what they've normally done. That change, isn't as easy sometimes. So yeah,
Yeah.
it becomes more difficult. But the other one I would say is certainly our dry finish wax spray. And for a totally different reason. That product is Joey's favorite. He's left, so he can't comment on it. But it's definitely his favorite product within the range, and I'm not even kidding you. Aside from Miracle, obviously, which he can use on everyone, but dry finish wax spray is a bit of a sleeper, and I find it challenging because it is such a good product. Either we need to do a better job of showing people how to use it, or people just need to understand that product more. So, collective, I'm putting it out to you guys to, rise to the challenge of that one. But
I
I
think
don't
it's
know
such
if
a
that's a product that they love as well.
I love it. I use it. It's brilliant on my curls. Absolutely brilliant. This is my wash day, and dry finish
Right.
wax spray will just plump this out, and it just keeps my curls like formed really beautifully and gives me that separation. I love it. It's one of
Yeah.
my ones. But like you say, I think with dry finish texture spray landed with
Yeah.
such a big bang
Yeah.
that everybody was just obsessed with that. And I don't think we, like you say, I don't think we did a good job of landing why you should be using it or how or what the difference was. And they just went
Yeah.
reverted back to the dry finish texture spray.
But I mean, you hit the nail on the head. You said it gives you that second day texture, and that's actually how we really marketed that. I'm pleased to say we're going to have loads more content that come out about
Yeah.
educating people how to use it, because it. I won't say it's a niche product, but it does have a niche kind of feel and
Yeah.
way of
The
using it,
finished
and
look.
it's
Yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
it's definitely and it stands to reason why hairdressers love it, because Joey loves it, and it's a real hairdresser's product, because hairdressers, if you think about it, really know how to use a product, right? But for a consumer, it takes them a little bit more to kind of really understand the
Mhm.
application, how much to use, how often to use, and so forth. So that's certainly a challenge, but it's not going away. We're just going to make sure that we do a better job to let more people know how damn good it is.
So talking about challenges, what challenges would you say that you face growing 11 Australia? And what can you do? Because it's a very challenging time at the moment in the UK with salons. We are at
Yeah,
a very weird place at the minute, from going big salons, freelancers going back into salons. It's really an odd time, and all businesses go through challenges. What has 11 Australia? What's been your biggest challenge for your business?
well, I think the challenges you've just talked about, for starters, they're happening globally, and from everything that we're hearing is that the next 6 months, 6 to 12, are going to be tough. But we will come out of it again, and it'll really start to pick up. But for us as a company, supply chain would have to be one of the biggest challenges we face when growing a brand. And supply chain is really how we monitor and move through our inventory, and meeting the demand. Sometimes is really difficult, and not having too much, and other times when you're way too overstocked. So how we've overcome that is we've invested in systems and people, and really really understood our supply chain far more effectively. So that's definitely been a help. Reducing lead times while reducing our carbon footprint is always at the top of our mind, Joe.
Yeah.
So, we make sure we worked with a number of manufacturers that around the globe really understand us and what our needs are. Um, Following regulatory compliancy is really challenging for us. And by that, it means everything that you put in your bottle must have a regulatory approval globally. And that's different in different markets. So what's approved in the UK is different to the US, is different to Asia Pacific, is different to, all regions around the globe. And so, getting that compliancy right is really challenging. In the early days, I can tell you, there used to be auditors that would go around. Sweden in particular are really stringent on their compliancy. They would have auditors go around to salons and check backs of bottles and make sure that the ingredients were to compliancy, and yeah, they would really penalize a lot of brands that weren't doing that. And so, since the start, we've made sure that we really invested in compliancy. That's been really at the forefront for us. And so, almost to a fault, we check that every single ingredient, every single law, every single rule is really adhered to. And so, we have a team that work on our global compliancy, and it's challenging. It's challenging for me as a marketing because obviously there's things you want to push out, things you're allowed to, and things you're not allowed to in some markets, and others you can, others you can't. And it's interesting. I know that there are some brands who just naively push products out into the market, and they don't know that you actually have to adhere to all of these
Mm.
regulations. Those regulations actually cost money as well. So that's another thing. There's a cost and time consideration. Um, so that's certainly challenging. And then, of course, the conversion or the conversation, I should say, about online has been extremely challenging for us over the years. And that's being really frank. With you, Joe, as a distributor, and Salons as well. But I believe we've come through it, and I believe the world really understands. That online is a necessity now. It's not seen as something to be feared um, or to compete against. In fact, we have a lot of research and a lot of data that we show salons and can show salons that the growth of salons happens exponentially when people have gone online. That's us as a brand, and that's when salons go online or distributors go online. So there's a direct correlation with salons and brands going up together when online. And that really comes from the awareness piece, the sampling piece. More and more people become aware. And I do believe that consumers now expect brands to have a presence online. If they don't, they kind of think, what's going on? Why does that brand not have a presence? They kind of feel that the brand's probably stuck in the ages. So yeah, that was definitely a challenge, those conversations, but I definitely feel people are more akin to understanding that, and understand that, together being a part of that online world is actually a positive thing.
Yeah, it's been coming for a long, long time. My previous world, they were right at the very
Yeah,
beginning of launching into that, and that was. I remember the salons. How can we compete? And I think they just thought everyone was going to take their profit, and it's not like that. You've got that person sitting
actually, Joe, the
in front of
company
you.
you were with were one of the trailblazers of
Yeah,
going into that. I do remember that. So yeah,
yeah.
you would have had some really hard conversations, I
Oh
would
yeah,
imagine.
yeah, yeah. It was
Yeah,
even in the office, it was us and them. It was the online and the in salon team. It was like we were
yeah.
not working together. It was a really interesting time. But look at them now. So there you go.
And look, here we are now. Yeah, exactly.
So you briefly talked about sustainability. This question has come from Zoe Reese, who is I want to call her our sort of eco trailblazer within the 11 Australia. She definitely keeps us thinking about this, which we thank her for. So
Good
how
on you,
does
Zoe.
yeah, she does. She does. She keeps like putting her hand up. So that's really good. So Zoe's asked, how does 11 Australia approach sustainability and ethical practices?
Well, firstly, good on Zoe for doing that, because it's just easy just to kind of be complacent and just go, oh well. But it's definitely something, we have a team within our team that is constantly looking at that, myself included. And I guess the best or the first way to answer that, how do we, approach sustainability and ethically, is cautiously and honestly. Yep, we approach all of that very, very cautiously. And when we do that, we do it honestly, or I believe we do it honestly, or we try to. And that's letting our customers know what we're doing and when we're doing it, and as often as we can. And the reason for that, and when I say cautiously and honestly, is because when we look at brands, not only in our industry, but brands globally, there's so much greenwashing out there. There's so much misinformation. And it actually really frustrates me. That, people say, oh, we're green and we're clean beauty, or we're this and we're that. Unfortunately, that terminology of using the word clean is unregulated. The word using green is unregulated. And it's soon to be more and more regulated globally, which I'm pleased to know. But I find we don't want to be part of that mix that says we're clean for this, we're green for that. I just want to be really honest with our consumers and with our salons and with our stylists, and tell them the things that we are doing, because I don't feel like we're doing anything less than any other companies. We're just, I guess, I want to be honest about those things. And, one thing I want to do is be really transparent. And so we've listed these on our website. And also, I only want to discuss the things that we are putting our hands up to say that we are doing, or can hand on heart say that we are being a part of, is when we're actually doing it. So I find that, a lot of brands have probably been guilty of saying, oh, we're going to do this or we're going to that. We don't want to say we're going to do this. We want to only talk about it once we've done it, really be able to stand by that. So, with that, the things that we've implemented, I'm pleased to say that we're 80% of our products are now PCR. So they contain post-consumer regrind, or post-consumer recycled plastic. So they're no longer just virgin plastic. 80% of it is post-consumer regrind. Now, you probably haven't seen us make a big song and dance about that. And this goes back to what I was saying before. I only want to talk about it once I can categorically say this is in the market. Salons actually have these now. We will talk about it now, but I didn't want to say we are going to do it, or we possibly will do it, or, only a couple of things are PCR. 80% of our products are PCR. So I'm really proud of that. That's taken quite a few years to be able to do that. Our bottles, tubs, and cans, they're all 100% recyclable. Um, we use only one of 3 cradle to cradle certified printing companies throughout the EU. And what that means is using non-toxic and recycled paper. So if you think of the things that, the boxes that we go out with, the tissue paper that we put our orders out with, the books that we print with, we just released a brand book that was done in cradle to cradle printing. So all of those things, we do think about, and they really, whether they're small or large, they really form, a bigger part of our processes. We have a brush supplier, and this is in conversation with a lot of our manufacturers. We really push them to understand what are they doing in terms of sustainability, because we want to make sure that we partner with, best practice manufacturers as well. But one really cool thing that our brush supply does, they grow grass on their roof of their factory. And they do that so that they less time is spent on cooling, because the grass actually keeps the factory cool. And it's a type of grass that actually needs less water. So I thought that was a really cool idea, particularly when you think factories are so big and they need so much to, heat and cool those factories. That was a really ingenious thing that, one of our factories has done. We're
Nice.
PETA approved, and with the vast majority of our products being vegan. Now, animal farming contributes to 60% of carbon emissions. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that, but being PETA approved and having that approval is not something that you'll see on our bottles, and I'll explain why. It's actually against EU law to put the bunny or PETA approved on your packaging. And the reason for that is because it actually is EU law that you don't test on animals. So by you as a company putting that on your products is actually saying that you're Peter approved, but no one else is. In fact, by not putting it on there actually says you should be anyway. So, we're pleased to say, that of course we are. And we use factories and manufacturers from all around the world to ensure that, they're helping us reduce our carbon footprint and reduce our shipping time. And so by that, Joe, if you think of when we started, we had a manufacturer in Australia, and to ship to the UK, to ship to
Mhm.
wonderful brands, to ship to Europe, to ship to North America, took a lot of planes and a lot of ships and a lot of carbon footprint. So now, we have factories in Italy and Sweden and the US. And so we're manufacturing in those places so that, and the UK, you'll be pleased to know,
Yeah.
so that the time it takes to deliver product from the UK to wonderful brands in the UK is far shorter than it would be from, let's say, Australia to the UK. So that's been something that we've developed over the last 10 years. And I'm really proud to say that that's really shortened that carbon footprint. And then,
All of
of
that
course,
sounds
on
like
the
I was going to say
go
all
on.
of that sounds like a bit like it's like a brand's growing pains, isn't it? Of just learning all of those stuff and making it all easier for us to work with 11 Australia. That's what that all sounds
Yeah, it is. It certainly helps with turning around product quicker. But that delivery time, shortening that delivery time, has such an impact on your carbon footprint. And
like.
yeah, Joe, I've got to tell you, for us as an organization, making those changes, and you can imagine building manufacturers all around the world and factories and all the rest of it, is a logistical nightmare. But it's something that we've really had to do in order, for us to be competitive, but also to be able to put our hand up and say, yeah, we actually are helping to reduce our print and reduce the shipping impact. But on the other side of things, we've aligned with causes like Style for Life,
Yep.
which we're really proud of. We've raised nearly over $400,000 to our Style for Life charity, and that's something we developed. And what that does is raises money for women who are victims of human rights abuse all around the world. And then we've also aligned with Happy Boxes, which supports Indigenous women in remote parts of Australia. And so we provide essential hygiene products, from us as a brand. And it's really important that we align ourselves with brands that we actually believe in. So it's not tokenism. We really have a genuine interest in those things. And for Style for Life or Hagar, we partnered with them because, empowering women and giving them economic empowerment through a trade like hairdressing was really important to us. So we felt an affinity with our industry and hairdressing, and being able to upskill these women who have been victims of human rights abuse in places like Afghanistan, Cambodia, Vietnam, who really, had been trafficked. The stories are horrendous. So Joey, myself, and Andrew went to Cambodia and we did a tour, and we really understand the work that Hagar did. And so, we Joey did a master class with these women and upskilled them, and they learned to skill like hairdressing. Gave them scissors, we gave them all of our tools, and it really was incredible to see that through a skill like hairdressing, you could empower them to earn their own money, which means through economic empowerment, they could get out of that rut
Yep.
they were in, which was human slavery.
Amazing.
And then, of course, you forget that women Indigenous women in remote parts of Australia, lack things like, you know, um, you know, shampoo and conditioner and soaps and just things that we take for granted that they don't have. So that was important for us, just to have a common decency, common basic needs that, we could supply those women with. So, yeah, so I guess, we're trying to do what we can. And one of the things that we say on our website as well, Joe, is that we're not professing to be 100% sustainable. We're not saying, we're clean and green and mean and we're doing all those things. We've got a long ways to go. And we will really want to be honest about that and saying we're doing our little bit when we can, as often as we can.
That's all you can do, isn't it? You try to be the
Yep.
best that you can where you are at the moment. I totally
Yep.
agree. I mean, we've talked about some really great stuff, but we've noticed a huge change in the last year. Sort of we're used to these beautiful, huge campaigns, the people campaign, that we just brought joy to us as we came out of lockdown. That was like the best thing I've ever seen. I remember that coming on my screen and just I felt like connected again. It was incredible. I absolutely loved it. But when you talk to us, we've got privilege of hearing about these things sort of a year or so in advance. I was like, oh, I don't know, these campaigns are so amazing, and I absolutely love them. And yeah, then along came the pop campaign and these micro
Yeah.
campaigns, and I'm just in awe. I am loving them, absolutely loving them. Can you share why and what's going to happen next?
Well, firstly, I'm stoked that you're loving them. And yeah, if we go back to COVID, we actually shot a people campaign during, a small window, through COVID. So that was as probably heartwarming for us as it was, for everyone else who got to see that campaign. Because you can imagine, Melbourne, where we all are, me, Joey, Andrew, and the rest of the team, Melbourne was probably one of the most locked down cities in the world. So, we were longing for that human touch or human activity, I guess. And so, the people campaign was incredible. We had like 6 to 8 models. We had a big crew. We had lots of fun. It was hard work, but we had lots of fun. And then, yeah, the outcome was just that we wanted it to be happy. And so, you know, um, then we got to a point, and one of the things that, as much as, we've done the Alice Springs campaign and, all of these campaigns in really incredible locations, and that won't stop, by the way. But one of the things we realized is that it takes a lot of effort, time, people, energy, forward thinking, ahead of time to create these campaigns and Australia's a bloody big place. So for us to do a campaign in Alice Springs, you've got weather to contend with, you've got flights, and I'm sure you guys know, but you can travel for 4.5 hours on a plane and still not be out of the country. So there's a lot of things that you take into account, and we've definitely shot in some incredible locations. That won't stop, by the way, but it means that these shoots were further and farther between. So that's one aspect, and we thought, how do we close that gap? How do we do these shoots more regularly, and more often, but also how do we make them more meaningful? And that's probably more at the core of why we're doing these micro shoots. And we call them micro shoots. It's interesting. Someone goes, you call them micro shoots, but they still feel like the big campaigns
Yeah,
to
they
us.
do.
And so that's definitely appreciated. And I do believe, I love hearing that from you guys in the UK, Joe, because I genuinely believe Australia and the UK have an affinity towards hair and creativity and the way that we shoot campaigns and the way that we look at hair. Not to say that the rest of the world does, but I do genuinely believe we have very, very distinct similarities, in both our appreciation for hair and hair campaigns and hairstyling. And so, yeah, we just thought we also need to make these campaigns have more impact in terms of the stories that we tell and the education that they offer. And so by that, we want to make sure that we have our campaigns, but we link them to our product. We have more UGC content. We have more BTS content, so that from a stylist perspective or from a consumer's perspective, not only were they seeing these big, beautiful, campaigns and images, but they're actually seeing what product was used to style their hair. What was the thinking behind that campaign? And so with Flower Pop, it was really about our dry finish wax spray, our dry finish texture spray. That was really about those products. If you look at our estate campaign, it was really about our blonding products and again in our texture spray. So we really want to align them more with products so that they tell those stories better. And so from a stylist point of view or from a consumer's point of view, you can make that correlation between a hairstyle and the products that you use. Whereas in the past, right or wrongly, we had these beautiful campaigns, but no one really had an idea of the color work that was done. And there was some beautiful colors done on those campaigns, but we didn't talk about the formulas that were being used. We didn't talk about the style. We didn't talk about the before and afters. So we certainly going a long way into doing that into these campaigns now. So yeah, that's definitely been the shift and the rationale behind all those. And
I'm
so we're
really,
working on the
really
next one.
really enjoying sort of all the behind the scenes stuff. Just it makes
Right.
you feel like you're part of the brand. You can really get into the brand rather than being someone looking in. I feel like I'm part of it, that I get to see Joey using this and I get to see where he puts it in the hair. Not only just told, oh, it was used this, you actually see him doing it. And I think that gives you so much more connection with the brand. So I'm really enjoying these. And I mean, the estate, you already shot this, and then Saltburn comes out, and we're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this is insane.
I know that was pretty. I remember you and I were on a webinar, Joe, and you said it is very Saltburn, and yeah, the timing couldn't have been more perfect.
Oh,
But
yeah.
it's interesting. You say you love being part of the behind the scenes. I was probably the one, pre that I've been of the and my background's been in magazines, Joe, and in publishing. And so prior to this job, I've always been about, the perfect illusion and the perfect, you know, the mystery of everything. And so you would just have these beautiful images that you would bring to market. That's just not where we are now as a world, and people do want to see that. And I think the really nice thing about this is when you see Joey doing behind the scenes and Andrew, you see that the hair that he's doing on video is very similar, if not the same, to what you see as the finished results. And I think that's testament to, very little, retouching or touching at all that happens, and just how good he bloody is at hair and how good Andrew is
Yeah.
as a
Well,
photographer.
we got to see that in February. We got Joey and Andrew over and we did our Sydney to Shoreditch event and we did a live shoot on
Mm,
there. And
that's right.
you could see we've got 100 people in the audience, and Joey was sort of like doing a bit of hair and Andrew sort of like came in, and then this image just appeared on this massive image and we were like, oh my God, that's it. That's it. And
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just so amazing to see. You could just see that people couldn't believe that you could create an image. I think they all thought, like you said, the illusion of it. And Andrew would spend a week photoshopping this and
Yeah.
adding bits of hair in and stuff. It just appeared on the screen and you were like, that's it.
Yeah.
It's
And I think
amazing.
that, I think that comes with, knowing each other really well, knowing
Yeah.
how each other works. That's years and years. You got to think, and the three of us have been working together for the best part of, you know, 15 to, 20 years. And I think you begin to understand how each other works and
Yeah,
you
there was
can,
not a lot of conversation happening. It just
yeah,
happened.
yeah,
The magic
yeah.
just happened.
It's
Yeah.
funny when we are shooting for campaigns, I'll be there with our art director as well, and Joey, and obviously makeup, and we're pretty much a crew that work on the same shoots all the time. And we don't have to say a lot because we actually know where we want to get to. It's been that time that we've spent together.
Yeah, that's gold. That takes years and years to sort of like come up with that. So we touched on earlier about challenging times,
Yeah,
and we talked about consumer shopping habits have definitely changed over the years, and it is expected now that the majority of things that we do buy, makeup, does come from the internet. What advice can you offer salons that are struggling with retail, that I see sometimes on group chats, on Facebook forums? Oh, I'm not going to bother retailing anymore. What advice
yeah.
do you have those salons?
My advice is don't give up on that because it is such an incredible part, and I guess you could have an air of skepticism from a stylist or a salon owner, looking at a brand person like myself, going, of course you would say that, you're the one who wants you want us to sell your product. But I genuinely believe, and I have a genuine um, desire to really, I guess, talk through when done well, the rewards, just come to you, tenfold. And I think for me, and I should also preface this with saying, while we do have this brand, we also have a distribution company. So I'm not sitting here saying, well, this is what I think it should be. We have salespeople out on the road. We're dealing with salons. Our ear is to the ground. So, we're not blinded by the fact that it's tough out there. It really is tough, and competition's tough, but competition's not going away. It's always going to be there. And if it's not this thing, it'll be something else. And so my I don't know if it's advice, but I guess my thought is to go back to basics with this whole retail thinking. And I would say reinvest in the art of education selling as opposed to sales selling. And there's a real difference. And we know that, education selling versus sales selling. And sales selling is just selling, selling. Selling and education selling is educating your clients. And I know I'm not telling you anything new, but you kind of forget the art of
Yeah.
doing that, and it really is going back to those basics. Another thing is creating experiential, immersive experiences in salons. And by that, I mean making a salon memorable, make it sensory, make it tactile. And I think that's another art we kind of lost as well. And when I say that broadly, there are salons that do an incredible job of that. But again, taking cues from beauty, taking cues from spas, taking cues from even fashion retailers now. And if you think about the Glossiers of this world or the Louis Vuittons of this world, or who have gone leaps and bounds into this online world, they're out now actually reverting back the other way, and they're doing real time, real life pop up experiences, so that people can go back to smell, touch, feel products. And I think as salons, there's no reason why we can't do that as well. And I say, make them immersive, smell, feel, touch. They're the things that they're the sensory things that really go back to encouraging people to buy. Um, Great displays, samples, testers, smell, touch, feel. Don't forget, salons have a captive audience. Create a reason for them to buy and to buy now. And
Make it
again,
easy.
I don't want to be that person that tells, everyone to, how the things that they know, but sometimes I even need a reminder of those kind of things in the things that we implement as a company to help salons as well. Don't be afraid of competition, learn from it, and then do it better. I'd say survey your clients, ask them what they want and what objections they have to buying products in your salon. You'll be surprised at what they say. And it's interesting, we take for granted that, you know, the one thing that most customers say, the reason I haven't bought from you is because you never told me about it. It's as simple as that. So, I would certainly say survey your clients. They may say, I couldn't find the products. It was never presented to me. As a company, we do surveys as well. We survey our clients. So I would certainly encourage. Um, and for starters, ensure your business can be found online. And I don't mean selling online. I mean through search.
Yeah.
Make sure those basic things are adhered to. Make sure you invest in paid advertising. Make sure you're investing in the right people who are managing your socials, your email marketing. These are all things that we think about as companies, but
It's
salons
so
that are doing that incredibly well are really investing in those. And talking retail socially and leaning into companies, for content to help them target. So by that I mean, going to companies like Wonderful Brands, like us, to all the companies that you deal with and go, give me content, that I can push out about your products to my customers as well. So, you don't always have to be the one who comes up with that content. Often, you can just rip that from, your brand's pages and start to
yeah.
share that as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, I guess
We do share
overarching
that
thing is
out.
back to basics. You
Yeah,
do.
I think
Yeah.
sometimes it's easy just to say, oh, they'll buy from elsewhere, but it just making it easy, reminding people, telling the same stories. We've got great stories from 11 Australia, great campaign images, everything's there
Yeah.
for you to be used. And I just think sometimes we forget. So it's just a little bit of a reminder. It's all there. You just need to talk about it. So look, we're
Yeah.
kind of finishing up now, and I've got two questions left.
Sure.
Two questions that are quick questions, but they're not at all. So if you could revisit the past, what changes would you make to 11 Australia?
This was an interesting one, and if I do think back, and how incredible would that be if you had a crystal ball way back when? But I'd certainly say, you know, and people may laugh, but I think any brand who jumped on Instagram the day that it came out would be a different brand today. I think, and I remember having conversation with someone saying, who first, was telling me about Instagram when it very first started, and they said, "Oh, I think this thing's going to take off." I went, I don't know, I don't know about this thing about people sharing their photos. Imagine having been one of those brands that jumped on for the very first day and
And having a
and gone through that
strategy.
journey,
Yeah.
and having a strategy and invest in a digital and social team earlier. you know
Yeah.
that's definitely one of the changes I would make. I'd look at to manufacturing in Europe earlier than we did, Joe. So as I said to you, that whole piece going from Australia to Europe to the UK to North America certainly, was, there was some growing pains in there, but I wish we'd done that a lot earlier.
Mhm.
And then, lastly, I wish we'd launched permanent color before we would launch the demi-permanent color. So I wish we'd flipped those around because the permanent color is so damn good. I wish we kind of went and told that story. And not that the demi's not good, but I wish we kind of did that first and, we'd followed suit with that. But, they're out there now, which is fantastic. But yeah, if I had the wish, I would have done it the other way around.
I wish you would have done that way around as well. I think it would have made things a bit easier. It
Yeah,
was a harder job, and I think if you're permanent would have come first. But like you say, we're there now, and we've landed it, and it's a brilliant product. So
but listen, I will tell the collective and say, why did you do that? We launched color during COVID, first
yeah,
and foremost. So if you can imagine, our whole team, both our creative team, our education team, we're all in lockdown, so we had to launch a color globally. So if we went for the lowest hanging fruit or the one that was more contained, it was certainly the demi permanent
yeah,
liquid color. And off the back that it was really on the edge that brands were really coming out with the glosses and the demi
yeah,
permanents,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
we really had to respond to that and respond to it quickly. So that's the
Yeah.
reason for that.
We're here. It was an
Yeah,
interesting time, and it was always makes a good story of launching color when you couldn't actually touch anybody. That was always my
yeah,
favorite.
yeah, yeah.
But anyway,
Oh God.
last question that I have. What future goals do you have for 11 Australia?
Well, the last question was probably a good segue to this because I would say, our future is focus on color technology, color education. We've got an incredible color. We just need more people to see it and use it. And so, yeah, there will definitely be a focus on that. We will still have incredible promotions for the brand. That's not going to go away. Um, and so, yeah, color is definitely going to be a focus for the future. With that, we just launched a new podcast, which is talking all things color. So if you haven't listened to it, go to the 11 Australia podcast
Good
series.
podcast. Really
Oh,
good
yeah,
podcast.
that's right. Yeah, I sent that to you ahead of time, Joe. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
But yeah, we launched that on Friday. So go and have a listen. We're happy with how much good information there will be for stylists and people globally as part of the 11 Australian network. We want to ensure that we're ahead of the game with innovation, new product development, having strong promotions. That's never going to stop. We want to make sure that we do things differently and we stay ahead of the game. But also we want to continue making the brand fun. And for sales reps, for hairstylists, we want to make sure that at the core of what we do, you know it's fun. We have really good incentives. We have really cool merch. And yeah, at the end of the day, yeah, I guess we can't forget that what we're doing needs to be fun. As long as we're, innovating and, we're still surging forward, we want to keep that at the top of our mind as well. So that's definitely our future goal.
Amazing. Thank you. I can't actually believe that we've timed this so perfectly.
We have. Bang on.
How about that?
Didn't even rehearse that.
So I just want to say a huge thank you. I'll put some links to Rob. I'll put some links into this one. I'll send this out as well to put it on the page and things with the podcast and some other bits and bobs on there. But thank you so much, Rob. It's always a pleasure talking about 11 Australia, and as wonderful brands, we're incredibly proud to be working with 11 and taking everybody on this journey with us. So thank you for your time. So I appreciate it.
Listen, the pleasure's mine. And Joe, I actually owed you one because you jumped on my podcast. And if you haven't heard Joe on the podcast, I'm going to embarrass her now, but she's on our Rethink Your Blonde Story podcast, who did an incredible job. And we also had a laugh on that. But Joe, yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, the collective, for your support. And of course, thank you, everyone else. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. Have a good time in the snow.
I will do. Take care,
All
everyone.
right, take
Enjoy the
care.
sun.
Thanks. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye-bye. Bye.